Good evening. The stage is set for a November showdown. Bevin versus Beshear. That is the headline of the night.
Now, both face stiff opposition and both defeated Eastern Kentuckians. Now the two foes, no strangers to one another, will battle it out for the governor's mansion. We begin with Andy Beshear, who rode a late Central and Western Kentucky surge to defeat Rocky Adkins. WYMT's Macy Marie is live in Louisville, where Beshear wrapped up his victory speech about an hour ago. Macy?
I'm inside the C2 Event Center here in Louisville, where just a little bit more than an hour ago, Andy Beshear was on this stage behind me giving a speech after he won the Democratic primary for governor. Now, lots of cheering at the end of the night from his supporters, but the beginning did not start out that way. Beshear actually behind in the votes until the end of the night. He says despite that, he believes he has what it takes to beat Matt Bevin come November. A room filled with support and applause.
This is an amazing state filled with amazing people. We have so much promise, but what we need to do is to be brought together.
By winning Tuesday's Democratic primary, Beshear hopes he can unify Kentucky. His supporters believe he will do just that.
He has fought for our teachers, he's fought for our county workers, our state workers. He's fought for Kentucky.
Talking about the same issues during his speech as he did on the campaign trail, Beshear promised to continue finding ways to solve the state's opioid crisis.
Doing right means looking out for our neighbors, not finally tackling this opioid epidemic.
But it was not all positive. Beshear took a swing at Governor Bevin.
He's wrong on virtually every single issue, and he knows if he doesn't distract us, that he will lose.
Beshear says he will take this momentum and hopes it will carry him straight to the chair his father held for 8 years. Stephen Neal, lots of educators behind Andy Beshear tonight on that stage, and one of those his running mate, Jacqueline Coleman. Pension reform, a big fight over the last couple of years between Bevin and Beshear, and that battle, one that Beshear actually won in court. Now, a more recent fight between Bevin and Beshear that he did not win was over an abortion law. And tonight, Beshear says that the people he was running against in the Democratic primary, Adam Edelin and Rocky Adkins, actually called him and said that they will give him full support come this November. Live in Louisville, Macy Marie, WYMT Mountain News.
All right, Macy, thank you very much. Now, Governor Bevin took Robert Goforth's best shot tonight. He applauded the state representative from Laurel County.
But his message is clear. He has unfinished business and wants a second term. WYMT's Will Puckett is outside the governor's mansion in Frankfort.
Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin will seek a second term this November after winning the Republican ticket. In a news conference after he won, he said that the choice in November is clear.
What you're going to have is a very clear contrast. A very clear contrast on issues that matter significantly to people in Kentucky. You have in Andy Beshear somebody who proudly supported Hillary Clinton. That doesn't play well in Kentucky. It didn't then, it doesn't now, and for good reason.
Standing to his left is his new running mate this time around, Ralph Alvarado, and he echoed the governor's sentiments that come November, the choice is easy.
To look at really the success that we've had over the past 3 years. You take a look at the amount of jobs that have been created in this state, the amount of private investment that's occurred in this state, the lowest unemployment we've got in this state right now. I mean, it's remarkable what's been done in just 3 years. When you take a look at 96 years of we had an opportunity in this state controlled by one party, and how little occurred during that time and what we've been able to get done in 3 years. It's really going to be a pretty stark choice to either look at, we can either move forward with what we've been doing and the successes that we've had, or we can go backwards with Beshear at this point.
The governor says that he expects the president to come to Kentucky at some point. He did not want to speculate how many times the president might stop by from now until mid-November. In Frankfort, Will Puckett, WYMT Mountain News.
State Representative Robert Goforth carried much of eastern and southern Kentucky. The underdog in the Republican race says challenging the governor was worth the effort.
I'm going to try to work very closely, as close as the governor will allow me to give input on what I think we could do better, and hopefully he will listen to some of that input.
Now, even though he lost tonight, House Minority Leader Rocky Adkins will still hold a leadership role in Frankfort. Now, here's a look at the final results. Early on, it looked like he might pull out the victory, but Beshear's margin in Jefferson and Fayette counties and the fact he did well in Western Kentucky proved to be too much to overcome. WYMT's Connor James is in Moorhead.
For the first part of the night, it was looking like Rocky was going to face off against Bevin come November, sweeping Eastern Kentucky, but at the end of the night, that ended up not being enough. As the results came in from Central and Western Kentucky, Beshear was the favorite. Beshear came back taking about 40% of the vote. Rocky made his concession speech at around 9 o'clock tonight, thanking his family and supporters. He said he regrets nothing about this campaign, and in his concession speech says he'll continue to fight for the middle-class Kentuckian.
I've carried that message across Kentucky, and I'm in this fight, and I got in this fight, and I'll stay in this fight for working families of this great Commonwealth of Kentucky. Are you willing to fight that fight?
Also in his concession speech, Rocky says he plans to fully support Beshear come the November election. I'm in Moorhead. Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, even though he only won 2 counties, former state auditor Adam Edelin still carried more than 27% of the votes. For him, this could be a building block for the future. WYMT's Justin Case is in Louisville.
Steve and Neil, it was just moments after 8 o'clock this evening when Adam Edelin walked up on this stage here behind me, took the podium and addressed the supporters here in attendance. There were about 150 supporters here at 21C in downtown Louisville. Now, what he told supporters is that they need to come together and unite and put their support behind Andy Beshear as he moves forward for what is expected to be a heated race against Governor Matt Bevin.
We ran the campaign that we wanted to run, a future-focused campaign that was honest with the people of Kentucky about our challenges and our opportunities. And tonight, I will certainly be behind whomever the Democratic nominee is, and look forward to doing my part to make sure that we retire Matt Bevin and bring civility and stability back to the governor's mansion.
I also talked with Edelin about his work in Eastern Kentucky. Remember, he's helping to bring a solar panel farm to Pike County. He says that is a focus and a priority for him moving forward. For now, in Louisville, Justin Case, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, to some other races now. A former Miss America will be on the ballot in November for Secretary of State.
Heather French Henry, who is also a former Kentucky Veterans Affairs Commissioner, easily defeated 3 other Democrats, including 2 from Eastern Kentucky.
She will face former Board of Elections member Michael Adams. He defeated 3 other Republicans. Allison Lundergan Grimes could not run again due to term limits.
A former aide to Senator Mitch McConnell will face a Floyd County political veteran in November for Attorney General. Daniel Cameron won the Republican nomination, defeating State Senator Will Schroeder. Both candidates battled over their conservative credentials. Cameron will face former Kentucky Attorney General Greg Stumbo, who held the office from 2004 to 2008. Stumbo was unopposed in the Democratic primary. Kentucky has not elected a Republican Attorney General in 70 years.
A Louisville cybersecurity professional won the Democratic nomination for Kentucky Auditor. Sherry Donahue says she will focus on protecting elections and rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, especially in the public pension system. Donahue beat teacher Kelsey Hayes Coots and author Chris Toby on Tuesday. She will face incumbent Republican Auditor Mike Harmon in November.
State Treasurer and Eastern Kentucky native Allison Ball knows who she will face in the fall. Banker Michael Bowman of Louisville won the Democratic nomination. Bowman touted his experience as a bank officer managing a multi-million-dollar financial portfolio and his work with local government. He beat business owner Josh Mers. Ball, who is from Prestonsburg, was unopposed in the Republican primary.
Incumbent Ryan Quarles easily won the Republican nomination for Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner. During the campaign, Quarles touted his successes during the past 4 years, including the expansion of industrial hemp production. Scott County farmer Robert Conway won the Democratic nomination. Conway is an 8th-generation Kentucky farmer who touted his experience managing multi-million-dollar budgets and hundreds of workers as a transportation executive. Well, now back to the headline of the night. From now until November, the attack ads will likely be fierce in the governor's race.
That's right, Steve. There is no love lost between Governor Bevin and Andy Beshear. They have battled in court several times. Both have won, but it comes down to this. The state's highest office is on the line. Kristen Kennedy breaks it down for us.
They've been sparring for almost 4 years, and now the stage is set for their biggest battle yet. Before we look ahead, let's look back at the tumultuous relationship between Kentucky's governor and its attorney general. The Commonwealth elected Matt Bevin in November of 2015. One of his first acts, taking swings at his predecessor, Governor Steve Beshear, Andy's father. He dismantled Connect, the state's version of the Affordable Care Act, then launched an investigation into claims of corruption in the Beshear administration.
My job is to govern, not to sit on the outside and be an armchair quarterback.
He has bullied our universities. He has bullied you in the media. And he has bullied organizations that rely on state funding. But he's not going to get away with bullying me.
When Governor Bevin tried to cut funding to higher education, Attorney General Andy Beshear sued. The state Supreme Court ruled in the Attorney General's favor. And when the governor abolished and replaced the boards of trustees at the University of Louisville and the Kentucky retirement systems, the Attorney General sued. That makes lawsuits 2 and 3. The fourth time the two went to court was on challenging the executive order that made those actions possible. The Kentucky Supreme Court declined to rule on whether it was legal for the governor to abolish and replace the board. And because state legislature passed a law later in the year giving the governor more power to remove trustees, the state Supreme Court dismissed that case, saying the issue is moot.
Pension is a promise. A pension is a promise.
And when Frankfort turned red for pensions,
Pack your bags!
The battle between Attorney General and governor got red hot.
The pension bill is government at its worst. It violates the rights of tens of thousands of Kentuckians.
Andy Beshear filed a lawsuit against Senate Bill 151 hours after Matt Bevin signed it into law.
All that I ask is that they follow the law. And if they repeatedly refuse to follow the law, then I have to sue them.
A judge ruled the passage of SB 151 unconstitutional. The lawsuits and teacher protests weren't over. During this year's General Assembly, teachers once again stormed the Capitol to protest education bills, forcing some school districts to close. The Bevin administration filed subpoenas to get their names. And Beshear took the labor cabinet to court to stop the subpoenas, but a judge denied his temporary restraining order.
It's 100% to do with politics. It's 100% to do with getting him elected. There is no mention in this lawsuit whatsoever of the free speech rights of any of these people at stake. Not one word, because that's not what it's about. He's a hypocrite.
The legal fights are likely far from over. With the two now going head-to-head for governor, the political rivalry will likely only get more intense. Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
I think it's safe to say these two already do not like each other very much. Well, we should also mention the estimated turnout in today's election we've just learned was 19%. That actually was a little higher than predicted. And while it is fresh on your mind, we want to know your opinion ahead of the November election.
So go ahead and tell us who you think will win the governor's race. This is a look at the live results. Head on over to WYMT.com now to cast your vote.
And overall, it was a beautiful day here in the mountains. Hopefully you got out and enjoyed it, and you'll have a chance to get out tomorrow, but you're going to need lots of sunscreen and water. You'll notice Interstate 64 up into Moorhead. We saw those mostly clear skies, sun setting, and just overall a calm evening. Satellite and radar showing a clean sweep. Haven't had to deal with those rain chances or really those clouds. We dealt with them a little bit earlier, but we've seen most of those clear out of here. And check out those temperatures. A little bit cooler up north. You're noticing those lower 60s, upper 60s to lower 70s down into the Cumberland Valley as that warm front continues to push through our area. But as we head throughout the rest of those overnight hours, we'll continue to see those clear skies. Temperatures will drop into about those lower 60s, waking up to sunshine, and that continues throughout the day with those temperatures climbing pretty high as that warm front moves in tomorrow, brings us very hot temperatures. We'll also see a few rain chances creep back into the forecast. We'll also have a look at that Memorial Day weekend forecast coming up in just a few short minutes.
All right, Paige, thank you very much. Some other